Could you do a explain like I'm five ZK knowledge proof?
Sure. So zero knowledge proofs is some way to kind of convince you, the challenger, that I know something without revealing anything about what I know, right? So, for example, I could convince you that I know two numbers that multiply to 25 without revealing what those two numbers are, right?
Yeah.
I could convince you, if I show you a map, I could convince you I know how to color that with only three colors so that no two colors are adjacent without actually giving you a color, right?
Hmm.
Because all you do is you pick one region on the map, and then I show you kind of its neighborhood of colorings, right?
Yeah.
And I randomize it. And so I never give you the whole map, but if you do that enough times, you can convince yourself that the only way I could do that is if I knew the full three coloring.
Yeah, it kind of reminds me of Atala Prism, where you sign a transaction and say, yeah, I'm over 25. But you don't know, I'm in that range of over 25, but I don't know anymore.
Right.
Yeah, and I like that moving forward. I hate having to give everyone all of our data. So earlier we spoke a little bit about, the moving to V2 contracts eventually. But without that, are there any other, ways that Sundae Swap plans on scaling moving forward?
Yeah. So other than governance, we've been working on a number of big things. For example, we've been working on upgrading our infrastructure to be ready for Vassal, even if we're not going to have kind of Vassal-specific features.
Mm-hmm.
We've also been working on a V2 of our UIs, which is a great way that we can scale our user base by, we've gotten a lot of feedback that our user experience for the current decks is really great, but we've also gotten a lot of feedback of, hey, this could be better, or hey, I'm confused by this. So we're trying to fold that in and build a V2 of the UI because, our user interface doesn't suffer from the same kind of immutability that the smart contracts do. So we've been working really hard on that. And then we've also been looking at, and I want to emphasize this is still kind of early research and development phase. We're not getting ready to launch this, but we've been looking at scaling solutions. Things like Hydra. We won't be using exactly Hydra, but kind of something very adjacent to it, kind of a hybrid model with some other ideas that we have to scale Sundae Swap on layer 2. And as part of that, we're also looking at, a lot of really interesting ideas to scale the idea of a DEX and the idea of, an on-chain smart contract exchange. And how can we push the boundaries of that? So this is still, quite a ways out, right? We've got to kind of finalize the feature set. We've got to, we're still doing prototyping and research and development. Unlike the launch of our decks, we're not under as big of a time crunch, so we're taking the time to explore a wide array of options. Then we have to kind of build the final set of contracts. Then we have to get it audited, then deployed. So don't expect this in the immediate future, but it does pose some really exciting options for not just scaling technically, being able to support many transactions, but scaling from a user base, right? Offering more and being more attractive to liquidity providers and users who want to swap.
Awesome. Yeah, I remember the Twitter space you guys did right after your launch, and you were already talking about, layer 2, and that's the future. So it's nice to see some progress on that.
Yeah,
So,
and maybe I'll tease a little bit for anybody who's going to Rare Bloom. You might want to stop by our booth.
I will, for sure. I really look forward to the day of the day early, the Thursday where we're all just in there setting up our booths in the expo center. It's gonna feel weird. It's gonna be like a crossover TV episode or something, Cardano, Twitter, all in one place. So you've been building on Cardano for a while. I think the first podcast that we did was early 2021, and you actually got your job at Sundae Swap for cloning the Plutus repo. So I'm very curious on how do you feel about Cardano now? How do you feel about the development cycle, where we are, the progression, the momentum, the community relative to where we were when you first, started learning and building on Cardano?
Yeah. I mean, I've never felt better about it, honestly. Especially like, and you know me, I don't like to throw shade, so this isn't a criticism necessarily, but seeing kind of how much effort goes into something like an upgrade on another chain, like the merge, and how those engineers have worked their ass off for you know one piece of upgrade that there's still many more to go, and then seeing how as difficult as the vassal hard fork is, it includes a lot, and it's something that we can do once or twice a year, not just these big events that are 3-4 years in between. um and so I think that that's a really positive kind of message for the future. I also a bit of self plug. I just opened a Stakepool, and it felt like about time. I've been building and enmeshed in Cardano for quite a while now, and it started to feel wrong that I wasn't kind of contributing to the decentralization of the protocol. So that's 314 pool. We just minted our first 2 blocks yesterday, so that was really exciting for me. And I wouldn't be opening a stake pool and kind of paying for that server infrastructure if I wasn't here for the long term. And I think that really stems from my confidence in Cardano as a whole.
Yeah, me too. I would honestly say the same thing. Even though we've gone down 80%, I think that the momentum, one behind the development team at IOG has greatly increased. It took years for them to release Shelly, and then it didn't take too long for the Mary hard fork. It didn't take too long for Alonzo. Vassal took a little longer than expected, but when it comes to building the foundation for this protocol, I don't think it was very long. And also the momentum in the community that's been built up. The amount of people that message me that are building their own open source tools that are not even looking at what IOG is doing and try to build solutions now. That's just greatly increased all around the board. So